This is a lesson on Module 15.3, solving volume equations. What that means is now you're going to have a missing dimension. They're going to give you what the total volume is, and you have a missing dimension you have to find. And we always use the properties of equalities to solve for that, and you'll see that just in a minute. The essential question today is, how do you write equations to solve problems involving volumes of rectangular prisms? Your essential answer is you're going to use the volume formula, which is volume equals length times width times height. To write an equation, you're going to substitute the known values and then solve it. So let's go to example 1. If you have your book, this is on page 431. If you don't have your book, you can look at the page 431 online. Again, you can take time to write all of these notes down as you pause the video, and then start it whenever you're ready to get the lesson. A copy of all of these notes, again, is at the end. They're located at the end of the document that you downloaded from Focus. Okay, again, I'm on page 431. Example 1. Samuel has an ant farm with a volume of 375 cubic inches. The width of the ant farm is 2.5 inches and the length is 15 inches. What is the height? Here's the steps for solving this. As always, you will write the formula, and then you're going to plug the known values and solve all that you can. And here's where that properties of equality comes in. You're always going to end up dividing both sides to solve for whatever dimension they give you. So let's work on this. Samuel has an ant farm with a volume of 375 cubic inches. This is cubic, so I know this is my volume. So that gets plugged in for my V. Okay? The width of the ant farm is 2.5 inches. So my W is going to be 2.5. And the length is going to be 15. So my L is going to be 15. So I plugged in all of my known values, and now I have to solve all that I can. There's nothing on the left to solve, but there is 15 times 2.5 on the right. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to have to do some calculations. Remember, when we multiply decimals, you just multiply the regular numbers like they're whole numbers and put your decimal in at the very end. Don't forget your placeholder. I ended up with 375, but what do I need to put back in there? My decimal. It's one place value. So it's actually 37 and 5/10, or you can say 37.5, doesn't matter. And you bring everything else down. So I solved everything I can. I can't solve anything else because I don't know what H is to multiply it by the 37.5. So what I need to do now is I need to divide both sides to get rid of that 37.5 and move it to the other side. Okay, so now this cancels out, leaving H all by itself. That's why I have H written down here all by itself. Okay? So now I've got to take 375 and divide it by 37.5. And I can't really do that unless I move a decimal. Because that's the rules of dividing decimals. See, I've got a decimal in my divisor. That doesn't work. I have to move it over one, and I don't have a space over here, so I have to annex a 0. So now I've got 375 divided into 3,750. Well, that's kind of easy. I know this goes 1 right there, and it uses up all 375 of them. Bring down my 0. I must address this place value, even though it's a 0. So you ask yourself, well, how many times does 375 go into 0? It is 0 times. So my answer is, you guessed it, 10. So the height of the ant farm is 10 inches. Okay, I'm still on that same page of 431. This is your turn number 2. Find the height of this rectangular prism, which has a volume of, I know this sounds weird, 15/16 cubic feet. So, following the rules from above, I wrote my formula and I prepared for income. Now I have to plug in all of my known values. Let's see. I know this is my volume because it's identified by cubic feet. Okay, so I got to plug in 15/16 for my V. Do I have a length? This would be my height, this would be my width, and this would be my length. Yes, I have a length. It's 3/4. Do I have a width? Yes, it's 1/2. The height is what I'm looking for. Find the height. Okay, so now I've got to multiply fraction by fraction. Everything is in AB form, so I'm ready to go. Nothing cross reduces, so it's just 3 times 1, and then 4 times 2. So I've got 3/8 there, and I just bring my 15/16 down. So again, I have 3/8 times h. I have to get rid of the 3/8. That means I'm dividing both sides by 3/8. That cancels out. It will leave h all by itself. Okay? So here we got 15/16 divided by 3/8. You know you cannot divide fraction by fraction. We've worked on that all year. So I need to write this first of all horizontally. I can't do it vertically in my head. Maybe you can. Maybe you're a professional, but I can't. So I have to write this horizontally. Okay, you should be able to recognize from this right here back to Module 4 when we were multiplying and dividing fractions, you can't do this. You have to do keep, change, flip. You keep the first fraction, you change to multiplication, and you flip the second fraction. Okay, so that means I keep the first one, 15/16, change to multiplication, and then I flip. The 3/8 becomes 8/3. Ooh, I bet some of you get excited at this point because you can see that there's some cross reduction available. The 8 and 16. The 8 divided by 8 would become 1. 16 divided by 8 becomes 2. 8 is the greatest common factor between 16 and 8. And the greatest common factor between 15 and 3 would be 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 would be, let's see, 5. So my new fractions are going to be 5 times 1 and 2 times 1, which gives me 5/2. But you know, we can't leave it in an improper fraction. So I have to take the 5 and divide it by 2. So for those of you who can't remember how to do this, let me draw the picture. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I place it over 2, and then I group up groups of 2, one group and two groups. I cannot make three complete groups. However, I can make two whole groups, right? So that's my 2 as my whole number, with one piece left over in my numerator, and my denominator, of course, stays the same. So my height is 2.5 feet. And remember, that's a linear measurement now, so you don't put like inches squared or cubed or anything like that. It's just 2.5 feet. Okay? 2.5 feet. You know what? I'll write that. 2.5 feet. There you go. Okay. Next problem. This is also located at the bottom of the document that you downloaded in 15.3 from Focus. These are just the notes, the same exact notes. I took a picture of them before I wrote all in them, so you could prepare yourself for the lesson. This is solving multi-problems. The fun fact they give you for a reason, because you have to end up using it. The fun fact is 1 cubic feet of water equals, and this means approximately, there's two squigglies, it's a tilde above a tilde, two squiggly lines above each other, 7.5 gallons, and it weighs approximately 62 43/100ths of a pound. And I also did the abbreviation here, LBS, just so you get familiar seeing that pounds means the same thing. Now I'm on page 432 of the book, and this is the example tube. The classroom aquarium holds 30 gallons of water. It is 8/10 feet wide and has a height of 2 feet. Find the length of the aquarium. Step 1, you're going to find the volume of the aquarium first. This is where you have to use the fun fact. You're going to take the 30 gallons where it tells you in the word problem up here, and you're going to divide it by the 7.5 gallons that it tells you in the fun fact. So I just notated down where I got that information from. Once you do the division, which I did over here, it ended up being 75 into 300. It goes 4 times. It tells me I've got 4 cubic feet. Now, I have to use that for my volume. Okay, so this is like multi-step here. I have to solve for my volume first and then use it for my volume. So here's step 2. Find the length of the aquarium. You're going to first write your formula, which is volume equals length, width, and height. And then you're going to plug all the known values. So my volume I just figured out is 4. My length was, I forget. My length is what we're looking for? I think so. Yes, find the length. Okay, yes, the length. Okay, I'm slow. The width was 0.8, decimal 8, 8/10. And the height was 2 feet. Okay, so now I've got to multiply and solve all I can. 8 times 2 we know is 16. But I have a decimal place right here. Don't forget that decimal. So it's not really 16, it is 1 6/10, or 1.6, whichever you want to call it. And then your length goes right behind it. So it's 1 6/10 times L. And you bring down your 4. Now, I'm going to divide both sides by the 1 6/10 because I have to isolate my L all by itself. So I'm going to do that now. That cancels out, leaving L all by itself. Now, I have no idea what this is going to be, so I'm going to have to do some division over here. Can you see that? Yeah. Got to move that decimal over. Don't have a place value, so guess what? I got to go there. How many sets of 16 in 40? That should be 2, which uses up 32. Which leaves 8. Uh-oh, I don't have something to bring down, so I'm going to have to annex a 0 when that happens. And let's see, 16 times 5 should give me 80. my work bubble. Okay, so my length is going to be 2 5/10 feet. So the length of the aquarium is 2 5/10 feet. Again, remember that's a linear measurement. That is not a cubic or a square. Square is for area, cubic is for volume. Okay, last page. Number 3. Your turn, number 3, which is on page 432. An aquarium holds 33 7/75 gallon of water. It has a length of 2 feet and a height of 1.5 feet. What is the width of the aquarium? Hint, you need to use the fun fact in order to find your cubic feet first. Now, they will always tell you this if you're taking a standardized test. They will always tell you the fun fact, and then you'll have to do that. So you got to take the 33.75, and you're going to divide it by that fun fact that we did before, which was 7.5. And in lieu of time, because I'm looking at the time, I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. If you do the long division, you will get 4 5/10 cubic feet. That's going to be the volume that you're going to plug into your formula. Okay, so the volume is now going to be 4.5. The width is what we're looking for, so the length I read in the problem was 2 feet, and the height was 1.5. So we're going to multiply everything we can. We wrote the formula, prepared for incoming, plugged our known values. Now we have to solve everything we can. So the only thing I can do is multiply 1.5 times 2. And I get 3. So now I have to get W all by itself, and to do that, I have to undo multiplication and divide both sides by 3. That leaves W all by himself. So now I've got to do 4.5 divided by 3. And I should be okay on that because my divisor doesn't have a decimal in it. So how many sets of 3 can I take out of 4? I think 1, and it uses up 3. Leaving a 1 remainder. Bring your 5 down. How many sets of 3 do I get out of 15? That would be 5. And it uses them all up because 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, I think I just found my W. It's 1.5, or 1.5. And I put that over there because when I was writing out my notes, I got a little too fast, and I ended up writing it. So the width is 1.5 feet. Again, remember that is a linear measurement because it's not squared and it's not cubed. That is just a measurement of the side. The width is one measurement of the side. Okay, your homework for this particular module, believe it or not, you do not have to go to your online book. It is at the end of that document that you downloaded on Focus. You can copy paste the answers and email them to me, and you have my email address, I'm sure, but there it is just in case. So to get counted for the credit for this particular assignment, you must now email those answers to me, and there's only 5 questions. So I need those emails coming in so I can give you a grade. Check Focus for all of your grades. Some of you are not completing the second part of 14.1. You did the your turn part, but you didn't do the homework, or you did the homework and didn't do the your turn part. But if you find there's an empty space where a grade should be from an assignment in Focus, then you need to see what the comment says, and the comment will tell you what it is that you need to do to get a grade for that class. Well, this concludes lesson 15.3. Happy learning!